Check.
Check.
Let's go.
Welcome back to the CranSEDS space journey, the space of tomorrow from Vostok to Artemis. We're going to, well, first of all, I hope you had time for lunch. It was a longer break, so it should be fine. Now we're going to start with the CranSEDS Space is Our Mission workshop. If you are not here during the presentation, maybe you don't know what CranSEDS is and why we are repeating it over and over again. So let me introduce you. CranSEDS is actually a Cranfield Students for the Exploration and Development of Space. It's a student society made of different students here at Cranfield. So CranSEDS is actually a local branch of UKSEDS, which goes for United Kingdom Students for Exploration and Development of Space. And this is a national branch of SEDS. There are SEDS all over the world, and actually you're going to meet some of them in Vostok 2 when this workshop finishes, and also in the workshop International Space Students workshop.
So let's first focus on CranSEDS, our local branch from Cranfield University. So to present ourselves, so we are a diverse team of, we have more than 100 members in our society, with students from more than 25 different nationalities, so very diverse and international teams. We have more than 12 different Master of Science represented, generally on aerospace engineering, but also manufacturing, like all the panel, which makes us multidisciplinary teams, and international again. So that's very cool to work in this kind of environment. And as we discussed with Charlotte Besco, it's what we can expect for the next years in our career. So what does space is our mission means? So it's our motto. It means like we doing a lot of different activities related to space, from competitions to research to STEM engagements, so with local schools, and creating events like this online conference you're assisting, and also building different collaborations with companies and in academia. And it's make me remind that you can always join the career fair of our events, which is on another link, on another Zoom link. And we are always looking for new partners. So if you are a company and interested to invest on our society, help us to develop our projects, feel free to reach us. We are very glad to discuss with you about future collaboration, and yeah, we have on our website you can support our projects. We have a dedicated space for that, so on cranseds.co.uk. I think, yeah, follow us on social media and check out our website.
Yes, you will be able to see which our projects are, and actually we're going to start this workshop, so I couldn't think of anyone better to talk to you about these different projects, but the project managers of these projects. So let's welcome today our project managers from the national competitions that we are taking part in. So first of all, Maria Carrillo Barrenechea. She's project manager for the Vixinity team, and she's therefore participating or taking part into the satellite design competition from UKSEDS. Hi, Maria. So now we're going into Miquel Buenoviso. He's actually project manager for the Olympus Rover Trials, also for a competition organized by UKSEDS. And the name of his rover, or of his team, is actually Cruiser. So welcome, Miquel. And finally, we also have Adrien Gilbert. He's actually project manager for the National Orbex Rock 3 Championship. Sorry, that was a very long name. So he's here with us today, and he's going to talk also about his rocket Annie 1. So I'm aware of all the projects you guys are running, because like we work a lot together in CranSEDS with a lot of communication between the projects. So I will ask a question so that you briefly explain your project to the audience. So let's start with Maria. So you're in charge of the satellite design competition. Your teams need to design and build 3-unit CubeSats and for plans for lunar mission. However, beside all the classic and evident challenges you have to face, one of the main one is
about how to test your satellites. Could you let us know how exactly you're managing these parts?
Yeah, sure. So, well, hello everyone. Thank you for this. So, due to COVID, the competition has been split into two different branches. So, CubeSat organizes this competition, the satellite design competition. And in the beginning, it was about designing a theoretical lunar mission, and then also a 3U CubeSat, as you said, Paul. And what we had to do is designing this 3U CubeSat for testing it in ground. So it was an analog lunar mission. We are not sending it into space really. So it's easier because we can test it here. We have started now building and testing it. And due to COVID, because some teams cannot access to labs in the university and these kind of things, now the competition has two different branches. So we can do a theoretical lunar mission to go to the moon and orbit it and analyze the different lunar landmarks on the moon, or build and test the satellite. So we are now in this, in CranSEDS, we are building it. That is quite fun, to be honest. And well, yeah, COVID has been a bit restrictive, but we are really happy that we can build it.
That's great, Maria. Thank you so much for explaining us first the competition and also one of the main challenges that we all know as CranSEDS members that has been COVID. So let's go in next with the rover project. So Mikkel, hi Mikkel. I know, well, in your case, your team is designing and building a rover for a mission in Mars, for a habitat there, construction, sorry. A couple of months ago, we had a collaboration, well, an event in collaboration with Airbus, in which we were able to learn more about the Mars Sample Fetch rover and also about the Mars Sample Return mission. And in this talk, we could already see a lot of similarities between your project, your rover, and this mission. Can you elaborate on these similarities and how did this other mission inspire your job or your design? Maybe.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much, Alejandra, Paul. Yeah, briefly explained, the Olympus Rover Trials is a competition organized by CubeSat, which challenges student teams as CranSEDS to design, assemble, and operate a rover for a habitat construction mission to Mars, as you mentioned. And we take part in this competition basically because we are able to perform a complex systems engineering task and organize as a team, and develop some useful skills as teamwork, leadership, project management, apart from the technical skill set, of course. We can meet some real space mission requirements, and we are as well fostering interest in the activities of the space sector among university students. And the mission to be accomplished by the rover itself changes each year, and for us this year, the mission consists in deploying a rover in a Martian terrain, traversing the habitat area to a specific site, picking up an energy storage unit, and connecting it into the correct socket of a power distribution unit, which will be placed somewhere in the workspace. And to accomplish that, the team has a 15 pounds budget divided into materials, components, and a small margin that helps us undertake all different obstacles that we can face during the project. And technically speaking, and in order to also meet all those similarities that we have with the Mars Sample Fetch rover developed by Airbus, the rover itself has been clearly divided into mechanics, which covers all the design, structure, and assembly tasks, electrics, which involves all electronical components and architecture of the rover, and software, which covers all the programming tasks. And therefore, by combining all these three domains, we have achieved to build a rover model, which will be transformed to a small real rover in a few months.
That's amazing.
That sounds really amazing. Yeah, like doing a rover like it was a Mars mission. It's like so cool, especially that at that moment there are different rovers rolling on Mars. So that's very interesting projects, and I know that you're doing great in your team. Okay, so now, yeah, let's go to our next project manager doing a rocket, which is, in my opinion, best kind of projects in our society. So Adrian, welcome. So you are the leader, project manager of the UK rocketry competition, ORBEX UK ORBEX National Rocketry Competition.
Championships,
Championships,
actually, but almost.
And so yeah, could you explain us about the competition and actually what it implies to design and build a rocket and getting prepared to the launch?
Yeah, hi, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the conference. I hope you enjoyed so far. So, to be quick, the UK Rocketry Championship has one simple objective, I can say, it's to reach the highest apogee while carrying out 100 grams of payload and having restriction on the propulsion. So, we are restricted to a motor type G. So this is what is interesting with this competition. It's that every team has the same motors, basically the same type of motors. So the big difference, won't be made with the propulsion of the rocket. The big difference will be made with the design of the rocket. And as you may know, the lighter the rocket is, the higher it will go. So we have to take this into account, keep this in mind during all the project in order to design and manufacture a rocket that will, I hope, go as high as possible. It looks simpler, but there's different parameters to take into account. The rocket has to be strong enough to withstand the different forces during the launch. We need a stable rocket to go straight during the launch, but we also have to have enough space to carry out the different electronical components required or for the payload in the rocket. We also need the recovery system. As you may know, we want to have back the rocket in one piece. And if we can use it again, it's even better. So yes, a lot of different parameters to take into account to make the best project possible. So yeah, start with the design phase in the different parts. So material selection, propulsion, modeling, simulation, and then we can start the manufacturing where we are now, thanks to the university where we can print the different parts in 3D and yeah, try to assemble everything and make it works. The launch is programmed to be in 1 month, so hopefully everything will be done and we'll be fine.
We know that everything will be fine. We trust you, and we know you all three of you have been doing an amazing job. And actually, it's a very difficult year because, as Maria has already kind of anticipated, this year we had COVID. We all know we have all suffered. It's something that is for even all of our attendees are aware of this. So I was wondering, Maria has already explained a little bit how did it affect the competition, in particular the satellite design competition. But I want to ask all of you, so Mikel and Adrian more likely because you have already answered, but how did it affect COVID your competition? Also, how did it affect the process of designing, the process of building? Because I know that until very recently you were not able to actually assess the facilities. So Mikel or Adrian, if you want to take over the question.
Yeah, I can start. It's kind of sad that Maria, our project could split in 2 parts, but thanks to the university, the lab opened, so we're able to start building the rocket. For me, it's quite challenging because it's almost done. So we have to. I'm working actually with Mikel in the lab, so we're trying to have not a step on each other project, but thanks to the university, the CranSEDS, we managed to build something and hopefully launch something.
Yep, and in our particular case, the main drawback that we had due to COVID was that the competition itself was changed from face-to-face to online back on December, because one of the best things of our competition is that we were supposed to be able to launch the rover in a Martian terrain in Oxford in the RAL space facilities, but due to COVID that they can't afford to organize a competition like this, and we had to change everything to online. But hopefully, and thanks as well to CranSEDS, to the society and to the facilities we have in the university, we were able to start 3D printing all the components, programming the Raspberry Pi, and starting doing all the assembly tasks a couple of weeks ago, and we will be able to build the actual rover in a month, in 2 months. before the competition itself. So it will be really nice.
Yeah, that's very great. Like I saw in the lab, like you've done a lot of progress, and like all the teams are collaborating to share the space, because we don't have a lab that is extended, and for like we are running a lot of projects, and we have a good lab and 5 projects at the same time. So the collaboration between the teams is quite good and in a good way. To go back on that, Maria, can you explain us like what are you doing right now? Like what's the state of the progress of your satellites?
Yeah, of course. I'd be happy to do it. So as I anticipated already the COVID situation and how this has changed our the competition. But basically now what we have to do is 3U CubeSat that enters in a mystery room. So this is the analog lunar environment, let's say. So we don't know what will be there. And basically we have to hang the CubeSat from the roof, and it will rotate. So it can scan all the room, and it will need to take different data sources as thermal sources, electromagnetic sources, also some light sources, and some objects of interest. So what we have to do is do a 3D map of all the room that will be like the moon. And we will need to analyze this data and post-process it and say, okay, so I've seen this thermal source here, I've seen this object here, I don't know, an alien maybe here. So that's what we have to do. And as because of COVID things, we also have some members that are not here now in campus, but they are doing the software part. We also need to do lots of documentation, and there are many things also that can be done online. So we are now testing the sensors and building the structures of the CubeSat, and also the people that are in offline, let's say, not on campus, are basically doing all the software and all the documentation for the testings.
Thank you, Maria. That's great to know. And as you can see, these project managers have spent the whole year doing a lot of work, a lot of effort. Their teams are also amazing. So obviously, if someone is interested in supporting them, you have all of the information on how to support us on the website. So please just take a look, and it would be very appreciated, because we really want for them to have the opportunity to build these different projects, because they have earned it. So thank you all 3 for joining us today. Now you're going to, well, the audience will be able to talk with them in the Vostok 2 workshop once it opens. As you know, probably Maria is actually the one that is in charge of this secondary room. Yeah. So you will have to wait for her to get settled and to start it. So it will open once this other workshop is finished. However, you can always go to the career fair, which is in a separate link, as we always say, and take an appointment with a company or something like that. So in the meantime, thank you guys. We'll see you soon. Just join the room. And now we're going to focus on the next project managers, because as Paul already introduced, we have a lot of different projects. So now I'm going to welcome the people that are in charge of the research project, but also of the international competitions. So if we can put them over here soon, we will do that. So the first ones are Andrei Mesheika and Jaime Martin Lozano, co-project managers of the hybrid rocket motor and test stand. And then the last one is someone that might seem a little bit familiar for you. While we're fixing this for them to appear, I just want to know that don't panic if you see Paul doubled, because he's actually in charge of the European Rocketry Talents, the EUROC, which is the international competition. So
hello as a project manager and not a presenter for this session. So yeah, our 2 friends are coming on the screen. Yeah, we can go on, I think.
Yeah, we can start. We don't, at this moment, I can directly interview you.
Of course.
So Paul, first of all, I want to actually congratulate you, because the audience doesn't know, obviously, but actually your team has been pre-selected for the European Rocketry Challenge, which was itself a challenge. How are you feeling about this?
Yeah, we are super excited. So the European Rocketry Challenge is organized by the Portuguese Space Agency in October 2021. It's a new event created by the Portuguese Space Agency, and it's like it will be the second edition. And the first time CranSEDS is participating in it, and so there were 40 teams that applied for the competition, but only 20 can join the event. So we worked a lot, long days. We did the online workshop like all the year online, and now we started to work face to face and going forward with the design. And we learned that we have been pre-selected for the events, so we are now getting into practical stuff and getting ready for the launch the rocket.
Every time you get onto the hardware part, I think it's like the best thing ever. Yeah. So let's introduce our members again. Our project managers again. So we have, well, as you can see, Paul is going to be there on the three-way panel. Don't panic for that. So we will have Andrei Mesheika, as I said, Jaime Martin Lozano. Both of them are co-project managers of the rocket motor testing. And then we have Paul Boerlet, who is actually project manager of the UROC with his rocket If Pretty. That we will go over the name later because it's a specific choice.
It's a cool name.
We'll talk about that later. So let's start with Andrei. Okay, can you please, Andrei, tell me, because your project is slightly different than the others, it's actually a research project and it's a longer term project. So could you please explain me how did it happen and why are you doing this project? What does the project actually consist of too?
Yeah, sure. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. That's actually a good question because as you've probably noticed, all of our other projects are competitions just for 1 year. And I would say like most of our members were interested in the rocketry competitions. And if you look closely at those competitions, you'll see that in order to qualify for some challenges, like higher challenges, like for 30,000 feet, you really need to invest time and some of your efforts to designing your own propulsion, not just buy a propulsion. You need to really develop a propulsion like a rocket motor to propel your rocket for the challenge. And CranSEDS didn't have that, and we actually wanted to help with that. It was actually in the beginning, it was an idea of Maria, who is the project manager for the satellite team. But shortly after that, the project actually started to live on its own. A lot of members wanted to join in. You can imagine why, because I mean, like to get a fire, to fire a rocket engine, that's really cool, right? So there was a lot of interest from the students, and we started it, and we actually set the goal to lay the foundations for such a development, which would allow CranSEDS member to be more competitive in the future rocketry competitions. Also, this project will essentially give the students and the CranSEDS member a lot of hands-on experience with the rockets, but also with a lot of teamwork, manufacturing at the workshop and stuff like that, documentation, really important things which will be helpful for the students in the future, I think. So that's the whole story, that's the whole background, how it all started. And as you've probably already mentioned, we are building not just the test stand, but we are building also a motor which will be tested in that test stand. So there are basically two parts of our project. That's the test stand and the motor. And right now we are progressing with both of them. We will be most probably using a facility in Cranfield University testing facility, which is really cool. We are really looking forward to that because it's nice. It's all set up for us there, and Cranfield University is really helpful in our efforts. And yeah, we are also designing and building the motor, which will be like our first motor for testing for CranSEDS. It's a hybrid motor, and the thrust is about 300 newtons maximum. So yeah, that's our project.
It's very, very impressive, I can say. And I know that this was, as you said, it's funny because it was actually another project manager that suggested it, but Maria has a lot of experience and we're very lucky to have her on our team. So now I'm going to ask Jaime. Obviously, Andre already went over some of the main key points of the project, but there's obviously a lot more because it's a very long project. As we said, there's a 2-year project, or at least that's the initial idea, and it will offer CranField students, in particular CranSEDS members, the opportunity to get some hands-on experience, and actually it's a longer project, so it also allows us as CranSEDS to level up on the world of space societies. So yeah, let's get to Jaime, please. Jaime, as Andre has been explaining, it sounded very complicated, so I'm sure there's a lot of things behind it. Could you please explain me how the project is organized, what are the main challenges, and also if there's any kind of technical support that you have, and where are you getting this support from?
Okay, thank you, Alejandra, and thanks, Paul. So as Andre has given a very good overview of the project, but going into more detail, basically, so we're building an engine and a test stand. So we want to put the engine in the test stand and test the engine and hope that the engine doesn't fly off. We have to do a static test, not a dynamic test. So the project is divided into different work packages or sort of departments, if you would call them. One is the propulsion team. So the propulsion team is building the engine, focusing on the design of the engine. There's another team, which is the structures team, focusing mostly on the design of the test stand. And then there's the modeling team, the CFD team, which is mostly doing research and aims to build the foundations to develop the modeling tools to do the CFD on the engine, analyze the performance before we build it and test it, to optimize the design, so that future year students can put a lot of work into optimizing the engine that can fly in the Euro competition or in other competitions. And then the fourth team is the control team, doing all the data acquisition and the control of the engine, all the control of the valves, of which fuel goes where, and the data acquisition of all the data for the measuring the thrust, the pressure, and the temperature in the combustion chamber and so on, which is very important to ensure that we get the data from the test and we can learn something. No? So it's good to make a test and see the flames, but of course you have to get some data to know if you've met your design goals and so on. And lastly, there's the management team, in which Andre and myself and some other team members are, in which we focus mostly on the requirements and managing the whole project. And in terms of the challenge, of course, it's been mentioned that COVID has been a bit of a challenge, of course, because it has forced us to work remotely, basically. And during a great part of the year, we couldn't meet in person and didn't have access to the workshop and everything. So it's been a bit of a difficult start to not being able to meet in person and have to work remotely. But so far it's improving, and we are now able to visit the workshop, the test facility, and work in person, and it's getting better. And in terms of the support, lastly, we're getting great support from our sponsor, our main sponsor, which is SmallSpark, which is a rocket company based in Wales, doing great stuff. And from CranField University, especially from our space propulsion lecturer, Adam Baker, and the people at the workshop, which has given us an introduction to what the facilities are and the material available to be able to build this rocket. So the support has been great so far.
Okay, thank you so much, Jaime. That was great to get a better insight into your project and what these kind of large projects also entail. So now let's go over with Paul. So Paul, actually, first things first, I want to understand, what does the name of your rocket mean?
If pretty, it should sound clear. So if pretty means in long, extended and not contracted. It's if found, please return to Earth. So, whoops, sorry. To me, it sounds clear. So if pretty means if found, please return to Earth.
And how did you choose that name?
We made a selection process with different propositions by all the 30 members of the team, ran through a pool to select which one looks to be the best, do a selection, and announce the winner name in a quite stressful video I made with my teammates.
It's the longest video ever. You really don't want to see that video. The poor team members had to discover their project's name, but nobody should have to go through that pain. Anyways, let's go to the next question. Can you please explain us in particular the competition? And also you mentioned when in the introduction that it's the first time that CranSEDS take part. Can you also explain how or why this is the case?
Yes, for sure. So I will start from the second part. Okay. So 2 years ago, the CranSEDS team Ziggy rockets went to the Spaceport America Cup in the United States to launch a rocket and target an apogee at 10,000 feet above the ground. But last year, due to COVID, the team couldn't make it because the event has been cancelled. And as some European rocket team were ready to launch with their rockets, they asked to Jan Warner, the former director of ESA, to find if an arrangement could be done. And this is how the European Rocketry Challenge, born actually in Portugal, organized by the Portuguese Space Agency. And so in October, they launched the first edition and went pretty well. Like, it was pretty awesome video to see. And when I watched it, I was, with CranSEDS, we need to go there. Like, it sounds awesome. So then I joined the team in CranSEDS, and yeah, so we applied for the European Rocketry Challenge. I will make it short, EROC. And so the aim of the competition, there are different categories, but we are in the category where we have to target an apogee, so the highest altitude of our rockets should be as close as possible to 3,000 meters above the ground. So we really need to be precise on that. And our rocket is not controlled. We just have the motor, fins to stabilize the rocket, so we have a clean trajectory, but we don't have more control of it. But one of the key aspects of our rocket is that we are going for a two-stage rocket, because there is a challenge, and it's exciting to work on difficult projects and challenging projects. And it's also in terms of rocket science, rocket engineering, we save there were a difficult trade-off to make, but it saved like half of the propellant mass, so almost half of the propellant mass. So we went for that. And the last point I will add on this project is we need to carry a payload, which is a 3-unit CanSat format. So actually 3 cans of Coke in terms of volume and mass, and carrying experiments. And for those, so one will be a camera, and the 2 others are currently being designed by local school. So here in Bedfordshire, we have a school with students that are working on the projects. So we have meeting with them. For now, we just made them online, but we are willing to see them in face-to-face, and they propose their own experiments. And I will spoil you, they want to measure the variation of pressure and temperature when the rocket is going up and going down, while it should be safely recovered by parachutes. And that's a good challenge for our rocket team, and we are almost good with a good design.
Probably the audience doesn't understand, but why did we say the word safely with that care? What happened last time CranSEDS took part in an international competition? I
may wanted to help to save my the previous team without saying, because they had a magnificent launch in the Space for America Cup 2 years ago. Launch one-stage rocket going up straight forward to 11,000 feet high. But the recovery system didn't work as expected, and it is called a pizza, doing a pizza when the rockets went down at full speed into the ground. So the rest parts of the rockets are here in the lab in a kind of museum, but it was not safely recovered, and we want our rocket to be, if pretty, has to be safely recovered. Yeah.
It should be. It better be. So
it's the plan. That's the plan.
Let's get back to the rest of the project managers to launch a final question for this workshop. So the question is actually, as we have been talking this during this project, usually CranSEDS members are at least studying one master full-time here usually. Sometimes it's pre-masters and sometimes it's part-time students, but the general rule is full-time students in master level. So the thing is that you usually have this full-time occupation, and sometimes you also have individual research projects, you have internships, and you're also doing these side projects that we're talking about, and some people are even involved in more than one project. So how do you manage, Andre and Jaime, and also Paul, how do you manage to actually manage your time correctly to have all of this? I hope also a healthy social life and these kind of things. And also, I want to know if you think that it's worth joining this kind of societies. Don't, for that question, forget that I'm actually like the co-president and that you have to say like nice things. You can speak the truth. So you can all take the question as you want. Maybe Andre or Jaime, you can take over.
Hey, go on.
Yeah, I'll probably start. I'll start. If it is difficult to do all this stuff together, and I would say everything what's worth it, it's difficult, and I think it's worth it. So of course it will be a bit difficult, but if you manage it well in terms of time management, I think it's still very well manageable. And so I'm kind of already answering the second question. I think it's really worth it. But back to the first question, I would also say ask me in 3 months when my IRP and all our project are supposed to be over and finished. We will see then how we managed. But yeah, as I told you before, I think it's all about the time management and how much efforts are you really putting in. Sometimes I catch myself thinking more about the CranSEDS project than about my IRP, but I think that's like with all the project managers. And so with good time management, it's really good, it's manageable, and it's totally worth it, because the experience you get in CranSEDS, I think it's the closest thing to really experience the industry, the space industry or whatever else industry are you actually aiming for.
I totally agree. I also hope that your course director won't get mad at you by listening that you're using more of your time for this. But as he said, it's worth it, so please don't get mad at him. What about you, Jaime? How do you feel about this? Do you think it's worth it? And also, do you think the time involvement depends also on how invested you are in the project? Like there's different levels, or all of the people are equally involved?
Oh, that is a very good question, because the time effort or the amount of hours that you put greatly depends from person to person, because the involvement into CranSEDS, so generally each project is a bit open, but at least in our project, as it's not a competition, it's more of a research project, some people are putting more time than others, because others have maybe internship commitments, are not in Cranfield, and only want to do they only want to work in a specific area, let's say like CFD, for instance. But if you want to make the most and to take the most knowledge out of the project, you have to put a decent amount of time because you have to learn go through the learning curve, as we've all done in the project, learning about rocket propulsion and everything, and then sit down in front of the computer and with people to work on the CAD model and the sizing of whatever system you're designing. So it's worth to put as much time as possible. Of course, not putting to the side your research project or your modules, which I hope I haven't done, but it's a struggle. But it's definitely worth it. I think that as Andre said, the learning that you get and all the amount of experience that you get from the project, it's something I don't think you get in lectures, at least not in the same way.
I completely agree with what you're saying. So let's get finished with this workshop. Thank you all three for coming. Thank you all the previous 3 project managers also for coming today. You will be able to talk with them personally, except for Paul because he's staying here. So if you want to continue this talk, Vostok 2 is going to open at the moment. So as you know, just click on the button below for breakout room. I don't know if it's on this side or Paul's, but you can figure it out. It has like 4 squares. It's very easy to follow. There's also the career fair in an independent link, so don't forget about that. And for now, we'll go into a short break of 10 minutes, and after that, we'll come back with the International Space Students Workshop. So thank you so much. See you soon.
See you soon. Bye-bye.